you don't have to have perfect skin to be an esthetician.
100%.
You don't have to have the most beautiful hair to be a hairdresser. Like I tell people, whatever you're doing, it's because your experience makes you better. So don't have this image in your head to become like, love it and enjoy it. The process is the most important thing. I'm here for that client. And once I put my focus on them, they don't care if I have a pimple in my skin. Like they know that I care about them.
I'm Skya Jones. You're listening to Last Client of the Day presented by Boulevard, and I'm so excited to introduce you to our guest, Amber Johnson. Amber Johnson's passion for skincare started in her teenage years after struggling with stage 3 cystic acne. After many dermatology visits and different medications and skincare, her condition improved, but also ignited her interest for dermatology. Her dream of creating a professional skincare line persisted. Amber interned with her dermatologist, gaining skills in facials and skin enhancements, which laid the groundwork for her career. After graduating from James Albert School of Aesthetics, she gained certifications in microdermabrasion, dermaplaning, and epicurin, and studied product ingredients at UCLA. In 2012, Amber founded Facial Lounge, envisioning a supportive environment for clients and employees. Her personalized treatment plans aim to improve skin health and boost confidence. Amber's commitment to treating clients like family and creating a positive atmosphere has made Facial Lounge a beacon of excellence in the industry.
This episode is brought to you by Boulevard, the first and only client experience platform purpose-built for appointment-based self-care businesses. Today's listeners can save 10%. To claim your special offer, head over to joinboulevard.com/podcast. That's joinblvd.com/podcast.
We are so excited today to be joined by the amazing and beautiful Amber Johnson.
I love being here. Thank you.
It has been so much fun already. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I have been in the skincare industry for 30 years, and I've been doing facials for 24 years. So I am in love with this industry. I learned about skincare and facials very young. So I knew what I wanted to do at a young age. So I'm very blessed to be here.
I can tell because your skin is perfect.
Thank you.
And I would have never guessed you've been in the industry that long. You're basically immortal now.
Thank you. I hope so.
You're just going to preserve it forever.
Forever.
Tell us a little bit about your business.
I suffered from severe acne, and I went to a famous doctor named Dr. Fulton who made benzoyl peroxide.
Mm-hmm.
He also co-founded Retin-A and mandelic acid. He's very famous. But I had very painful facials because I had severe stage 3 acne. I had some of the worst acne.
Wow.
And so I was getting facials weekly for a long time, and I was scared of them. Once my acne got cleared, I had severe scarring, but facials scared me because I only did medical scary facials.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember getting my first like relaxing facial, but it was all fluff. And I was like, wait, can we like mix like the medical and the fluff?
The best of both.
So that's kind of how it started. I was like, I'm going to be an esthetician. I thought I was going to be a dermatologist until I realized what was entailed. And I was like, I just want to pop pimples.
Yeah.
So, and this was in the 90s. So there's no internet or Google. So I remember asking Dr. Fulton, he's like, no, you want to be an esthetician. And I'm a little dyslexic and ADD. And I was like,
oh, me too.
90 times, like, what's it called? What's like, where do I go? There's no, like I said, there's no internet. I just showed up to Golden West and was like, I heard I need to go here. And they're like, there's a 2-year wait list. And they didn't know me. So I definitely pushed my way in and got on the wait list. But I got to transfer to another school, which is Fullerton, and which is a smaller school, which I'm so glad that happened. And I got my license, and it was a wrap from there. I couldn't wait. I was in school like literally planning my treatment room. Like I was like
ready, like planning your protocols.
Can we just graduate me now? Like this.
Like I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
I'm ready to see patients.
Plus, I was lucky because I ended up working for Fulton and being in skincare. So when I was in school, I felt like I just wanted to rush the process. Like,
yeah, you were ready.
I was super ready. Yeah.
So I love that what you experienced from a client perspective, going through having acne, shaped your passion wanting to go into the industry. I think so many of us experience things like that, whether it be with skin, with hair, with any form of beauty. It really impacts us at a young age, and that shapes how we want to really grow in our career. I think that happens in the medical field too as well. You have an experience with a nurse, a doctor, and you're like, I want to do this. So I think it creates a really wholesome client experience, and it also makes you really see how your clients experience it and want to help them. So that's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah.
What would you say as far as opening a business and starting a business? You've been in the industry for so many years. What are some things that you've learned or hardships that you would give advice to others wanting to do the same thing?
Having a business and doing a passion could be hard, but I always tell people if you really love it, you'll want to work at it. And just waking up and being grateful, like it sounds like such a cliche word, but like gratitude is so important. Like I sometimes have to say, like, there's people who would kill to do what I'm doing. Like I'm so blessed to be able to be an esthetician and to have all this experience. And so I think if you love something, if you want to be in beauty or skin or whatever it is, that even massage or anything that makes you happy that you know you're actually helping someone is so important. And also back to your point, like, because I had acne, I understand it. So it's like sometimes when I tell people, if you don't look this part, you don't have to have perfect skin to be an esthetician.
100%.
You don't have to have the most beautiful hair to be a hairdresser. Like I tell people, whatever you're doing, it's because your experience makes you better. So don't have this image in your head to become like, love it and enjoy it. The process is the most important thing. There's days you don't feel like that. And it's like, it's okay. Like there's days my skin I have acne, like my skin doesn't look pretty, but I'm here for that client. And once I put my focus on them, they don't care if I have a pimple in my skin. Like they know that I care about them. And I think that heart is the most important thing.
It is. That authenticity. I think even with the client experience, it's just knowing that you're there to give them the best experience possible and use your education and knowledge to give them an effective treatment. They're there for that. They don't care if your skin's perfect or if your hair's perfect or your outfit's perfect. They really are there because of what you provide for them.
So true.
What are some of the ways that you shaped your client experience, or when a client walks in your door, what are some things that make it really special to your business?
For me, it's having a safe place for people to go. There's so many layers when people walk into a spa, kind of mirroring the customer and seeing what they need, because a lot of the times people are there, they may be going through a divorce, or so many times people are like even in an abusive situation at work or somewhere where they're just so a boss or a boyfriend or what, they're just so hurt in the world that they just need a place to go. And it's our job to kind of know if they want to talk or if they want to relax, or if sometimes they need a friend. Of course, the skincare and the facial is part of it, but there's another layer of like touch and
100%.
Relaxation and like a moment, kind of mirroring to see if someone says like, oh, I've had such a hard day. I need to say like, be quiet, Amber. Let them relax, like give them that space. And that's when I go into like breathing and letting them kind of have that space. And then some people just want to talk your ear off and tell you everything that happened, and which I love, by the way. And I'm like, girl, tell me it all. What's going on?
Yeah,
like,
what's the tea? Give it to
and
me.
Exactly. So just knowing, and if you say that to the wrong customer, just kind of knowing that, and that's an art. And that's something I work on hard because I could be talkative. I know you're shocked.
No, I think
the
it's
whole
so
facial,
true.
but it's an art for me to go, this is their time, and not put my on them.
Yeah.
And I learned that the hard way. So truly like being there for them and they're not there for me.
Yeah, I think it's a very niche skill that only people in this industry really get to work out all the time, is that mirroring of, this is kind of the emotion or the vibe that my client's giving to me, and I'm gonna be able to mirror that. Even if, there's estheticians that aren't super extroverted, but when they have an extroverted client lay down in their chair, they're gonna turn that up. And same goes for the opposite. And I think even in the medical field, I mean, dermatologists, when you go in and see them, they're not going to be worried about the client experience, right? They're worried about, okay, what do I need to prescribe? What do I need? What's my diagnostic code here? So I think that's something really specific and niche that this industry has boiled down.
Yeah, a lot of heart, which is
a lot
so
of
needed.
heart, a lot of heart, a lot of like that very intimate moment of sometimes like you're the only person touching that person, and that can be really, really intimate for them.
It is. It's very true, especially after COVID. So a lot of people for years, 1 or 2 or 3 years, some people weren't touched at all. It was magical and emotional sometimes that they didn't even know the feelings that would come out when we would start to do like a shoulder, arm, hand massage and touch, and that they felt safe. It was fascinating and sad.
Yeah.
So people need it.
It is, and it shows how impactful and important what you do is, whether it's, you have someone come in that has acne. I mean, if anyone struggled with acne, they know how vulnerable that is, and to be able to be treated for that, or if you're COVID pandemic, you're lonely, you haven't had human interaction, then to be able to get that like human touch or just to have a relaxing experience close to another person when we were so closed off and so distanced from everybody.
Another thing, especially because I'm in Orange County, we have a lot of influencers and a lot of even celebrities or micro influencers, and they are like look perfect and they have filters. And for them to come in and feel safe to like show me all their flaws, or Facial Lounge, my company, like come in and take that off and film, and like we don't ever ask them to, but sometimes they can get very real. Like it's amazing how much people want to see that, and I think that that's something that's so cool is people don't have to be perfect anymore, and it's okay to have their flaws, and that's so beautiful to me too, is like people being more authentic. That word you just said earlier.
That's the direction of a lot of the content, and I'm sure you see it with your social media and content and the way that people interact with that, is we just want to see authenticity, whether it's our flaws, what we're self-conscious about, what we're worried about. I think consumers are so much more drawn to that than like the perfect image. I think people are calling bullshit on that a lot more now. They're like, no, we want to see the real deal.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
And
which is fun.
It is. Yeah. We want to see the real. We don't want to see, the filtered. We want to see what people actually look like, what their skin looks like. Mm-hmm. We don't want the touched up version.
Mm-hmm. I still love a filter.
I still love a good filter. Don't get me wrong.
But I love when people are authentic.
Yeah, you gotta have a good mix of it. When I feel puffy,
I will love a little
Facetune snatch.
A
little snatch here and there ain't bad.
I do.
Yeah, we'll Facetune that out. Yeah. It is, especially with influencers. How do you think that influencers have kind of interacted with the space or changed the space? It's
single-handedly changed my business.
Yeah.
I work with a lot of from like the housewives for a long time, and this is pre-social media, and it was great. My name would be in magazines sometimes. My grandmother took it everywhere. She loved it. She would just rip it out, and I was in Riviera, and she was very excited. So, which is in Orange County, was a big magazine. Social media. This is a true story. Amanda Stanton, who's my good friend now and is my client. But this was on the Bachelor show, probably like 8 years ago, maybe. Yeah, something like that. 8 years ago was really big. I never really watched the show, but all the girls would come, and I would get the girls ready for that show. Mind you, I've done a lot of stuff in reality TV, and nothing ever really made my business bigger. But sometimes behind the scenes, a lot of makeup artists who go, "This is where they go," and this is so that kind of
word of
like
mouth
the word
marketing.
of mouth, and it was always fun. But they were starting to post, and I didn't understand. I didn't have social media. I didn't know. I was like, why is the phone ringing off the hook? And so we were like, this is crazy. And my favorite is the first thing that ever happened was Live was brand new. When Live was brand new on Instagram, I didn't know what it was. Amanda goes, I'm going to go live. And I go, okay. And I'm thinking she's answering questions. That's in DMs.
Yeah.
So I'm behind her. I mean, I'm not kidding. I'm like eating an apple. I'm talking I'm just being myself. And so she's asking me questions, or like someone's asking if they can use toothpaste on a pimple. I'm like, oh my God, forgot. No. Like, and I'm telling him, so I'm making all these jokes. And I just remember not knowing what Live
just
was and
yourself.
how many, and at the time she's still huge, but I'm saying people were so dialed in on what she was doing and where she was at. And that Live literally changed everything for me.
Wow.
Just my phones were ringing. It was really cool. So I didn't realize that like what Live was and Instagram was. So I got to see like, I need a social media, like ASAP. Yeah. So I remember thinking, what am I going to do? Pop pimples? Like no one's going to want to see that. Well, I missed the boat on that one. I was too perfect on Instagram, and I wish I was a little bit more real in the beginning because I didn't understand what it was. But I will tell you, like there was some influencers who changed my life, like truly did. And
I love that.
And then once she did that, it was like more, and then every girl got comfortable to come in. Most people never wanted to be on camera without makeup on, and and so that was really cool for people set up cameras and wanted to film getting a facial, and I never had that before that moment. So
see, I love that combination of like bringing in somebody that already has an audience and that cross promotional. I feel like that's so big. And then also just their clients, their clients want to do what they do. They want to see what their life, their day-to-day is, and then your clients get to see like, hey, this person's coming in.
And I think that not very many people were doing that, so once she did it and made it okay, I really saw like the change of like everyone doing it. So it's interesting how a handful of people, and I watched it happen, made a whole industry completely change, because before that, I will tell you, no one would have ever taken a picture in a facial room ever. And I had a lot of people at my table. There's no way. But after that moment, everyone did.
Well, and that's content that now everybody I mean, how many videos do you see of facials when you're
Oh,
scrolling on
it's
Instagram
my
or TikTok?
favorite. Yeah.
It's like so relaxing. Everyone wants to consume that or see what products are being used during that treatment. And then they're going and asking their estheticians, hey, I want to get this done. I need this.
Yeah.
So
really
it
cool.
creates like a whole demand.
This episode is brought to you by Boulevard, the modern, easy-to-use client experience platform that delivers everything you need to streamline your business, empower your staff, and amaze your clients. Listeners can save 10% for tuning into this episode. To learn more, go to joinblvd.com/podcast. Boulevard, make every moment matter.
I'm interested to hear about your opinion and perspective on leadership and what it means to be a true leader, boss. There's not really a textbook way about it. So how did you become such an effective leader?
That's a great question. And it is definitely a lot of work. There's an entrepreneur and then there's like this hustle mentality, right? So for my business, I was a hustler in a sense that I knew how to get clients. I knew how to get people. I knew how to get, but as an entrepreneur, like learning how to like scale your business, that I didn't understand. And I took these classes, actually the company's called Driven Leadership. And they're like I tell anyone who listens, they're leadership classes. I took one in particular class called Bold, which is 3 days up in the mountains. And it was the hardest, most amazing thing I've ever done. You have to those 3 days up in the mountains changed my complete life. And I remember thinking,
wow.
I want to be the best version of myself and I want this business to grow because no one's doing what I'm doing. Right after my mom got cancer, she got stage 4 cancer. And I remember thinking and she's a comedian, but she didn't have any, which is amazing. She left a lot to the world, but I'm like, God, it would suck if I left and like all this, I worked so hard on this craft for like a facial that actually works, that's relaxing and medical extractions and all the things. So I just remember going, I really want this to like go on. And that's where I started taking leadership classes and really understanding. But what I realized, what I thought a leader was and what a leader is, I'm so shocked. I'm such a different person, but a leader is someone who wants their team to win. And before, I think my ego was so big and I wanted my way. Like now I want my team to figure it out. And if they don't get there, like I'm there to help, but I don't really, it's really hard for me. I don't get as involved as much. So as my company grows and we have almost 40 people, it's really interesting to see, but that's not me. That driven leadership is like who I lean on for that. And I have a business partner who is in leadership. And so I'm really lucky to have that because that was not in me.
Yeah, I think it's hard for anyone who has that entrepreneurial grind, that grit, like I can get clients in the door, I can do this, and then to balance that with how can I scale this or what's the actual strategic plan for the future. You basically created your own legacy. You're like, I'm going to create a legacy that is something that can be, even when you're not there, your team can carry that on, which I think is really huge.
Yeah, it's really
for
huge.
any business.
Yeah, it's very cool.
I love that. I really like what you said about letting your ego kind of go and stepping away from things. When success starts to happen, I feel like you can't wear all the hats in the business. So you have to be able to have a team that you can, delegate tasks down to and hand things off to. What does a hiring process look like for you?
Well, I am fired from hiring, so it does not involve me. We learned that pretty fast.
That's fair.
But we have an operations team and it's pretty amazing process that they go through, but they do a lot of, they also have people take their discs. So it's kind of like the love language of people and really understanding. There's no judgment in it, which was really hard for me because I didn't understand that in the beginning, where I was like, I don't want to put people in a box. But once I realized it's their love language and it's how we speak to them. So they'll try to tell me, which I am also dyslexic, like they're a high D, don't, make sure how you talk to them. And I'm still really hard for me. But when I learn that their personalities, that their language is different, I am learning to
adapt,
understand how to speak to them, because I'm a very dominant person, but I'm not, I mean no harm. I'm just fast. So I realize that I have to slow down and let them talk and let them be heard. I'm working on active listening, which is amazing. I'm in a class about that right now, because that's something that I'm not good. I cut people off. I because I'm excited, not because it's disrespectful, but I realize it is disrespectful if they don't know me. So my friends and girlfriends, I can be a little bit more myself.
Yeah.
But in business, you have to make sure to like slow down, ask questions, get curious. Something doesn't make sense, I don't get mad. I'm like, why do they think
that way?
Yeah. And why did they make that decision?
Yeah.
And once I get curious, almost all the times it made sense on their end. But had I walked in and got mad at them and assumed, which is what I used to do, I would shut them off. I would never found out the truth. I would have never found out why. And my team's like phenomenal. So by the time someone's hired, I meet them afterwards because I really see good in everyone, which is a great quality, but it's also not the best when you're hiring. You want to find the holes and the flaws and see like how it will fit. And the younger generation's a little bit more entitled. They're different. They're wired differently, and they have these boundaries, which is great. But they're two different language. Yeah, they're two different languages. And once you realize that, like, they don't mean any harm, and it's what they're being told, and they're growing up in a different time, and they're being told stuff on TikTok and Instagram, and so they think that they're setting boundaries or whatever. It just makes it it's just different. So understanding that too, it really does help, which is I'm still learning.
It's a nonstop learning process. I feel like with any sort of communication, leadership, even just having a coworker, I love the personalities test and seeing what their love languages are, because it's so hard when you're trying to communicate with so many different personalities, and someone may rub you the wrong way and you're like, I just don't like him. But then you're like, oh, they just have a really different communication style than me. And it's just, I need to be on their level and match that to effectively communicate with them. Yeah. I feel like that's really helpful for working with clients too, because you're able to kind of choose, okay, this person's more dominant, I'm going to match that or kind of complement that versus whatever they're kind of sensing from their clients. So I feel like that's a very good tool to give to your team.
Thank you.
Where do you see the industry evolving and growing?
One thing I love that it's evolving and growing, and something that was very important to me, was I've never had meat growing up. So I was a vegetarian born and raised. I learned about animal testing very young. So a lot of those ingredients like benzoyl peroxide and things were all animal tested. I was very upset. I remember there's a store called Mother's Market, which is now pretty big, but it's like the original Whole Foods. And I worked there. I make a joke, they never hired me. I never left. I was just I'm obsessed with them. And I worked in skincare, and I demoed skincare brands. And then I would find out different brands that were animal testing. This is again before the internet. And I was trying to bring some ingredients to Mother's, and they're like, they wouldn't carry it because at the time Mother's was pretty vegan and very vegetarian. They didn't sell meat or anything. Being in the beginning stages of that time where vegan skincare, no one wanted. Like no one wanted. I remember being somewhere and going, it's vegan, and going, they're like, I want something that works. Like that where organic was like, I want something that works. Like organic and vegan was bad.
They're like, I basically want a chemical.
Yeah. And I remember, yes, that's literally. And so, but what happened is they were studying so much on natural. Over time, the natural stuff is what's wanted. We know those work. We can still tie in other things, but they don't have to be chemicals. They don't have to have heavy preservatives and fragrance and all these things. And the industry is changing. So I'm watching. I actually had someone call me. They thought I'd be mad. Like all these companies are going vegan and they're cleaning up their act and they don't have these preservatives and all these bad ingredients that I'm so against. I was so excited. Like they thought I'd be mad. I'm like, this is so cool. So watching the industry clean up and making a big changes. I'm saying when big companies like Procter & Gamble clean up their act, this is like the biggest deal in the world to me, because those are the ones who are like the worst. Not that I would still buy any of their products, but the fact that they're taking time to actually make some changes is a really big deal.
Well, and that it's more accessible for the public.
Correct.
It's not, a niche brand that someone's not going to hear about unless they come to somewhere like your business and they're going to find it. It's, in supermarkets and things like that. I'm interested to hear, what would you say for businesses that are getting ready to expand to multiple locations? What advice do you have for them?
I would say have your systems in place. I'm scaling as we speak too.
Yeah, and you're growing super fast.
Yeah, I'm really excited. We're working on our next location. And one of the things is having systems in place and having everyone really understand their roles is really good. This is not me. This is not my forte. This is me learning. And as I'm realizing how important that is, a lot of people wearing too many hats isn't fair. So I think that having people really, so as you scale, making sure everyone's very clear on their roles and being very fair on like having them and not wearing too many hats and frying your team out is really important. And I think that's probably the most important part of scaling.
preserving everybody from burnout is huge, especially with how fast you guys are scaling. I'm sure that's, you know, a main focus because it's so much work.
Yeah. And lots of check-ins. I mean, really, truly asking your team if they need you. And once you build that trust and there's times that girls need off or they need a mental day or whatever, really honoring that space, because if you do then it's like a family. And that's really the coolest feeling is building that team.
Yeah. Keeping that communication open of like, hey, I'm not doing good today. I need a day off.
Yeah.
And allowing that's something so many employers would not in so many different spaces, but it's human. We have to have that.
Yeah.
What are your guys' growth plans? What are you seeing for the future?
We want to, we're going to be opening multiple locations, and then next we're going to open a school. So, I'm really excited. One of the things I find, especially from behind the scenes stuff, is that there's so much our bodies are talking to us about, and we're not doctors, right? We can't but if an esthetician's seeing someone, say, with a butterfly rash, that means someone might want to get their immune system checked, or, you know, their eyebrows are falling out and they want to go get their thyroid checked, or your bodies are, we just had someone get melasma overnight. I'm like, you need to get your hormones checked. Like something's like off. Teaching that, but having like a safe place for people to like learn. And our gut is our skin, and tying those in. The largest
organ.
And so
it's
what
such
we're
a big
eating,
indicator.
A holistic approach to esthetician is really needed. I will say I'm really disappointed in the schools in California. I'm watching it go down, and I really want a really cool place for people to learn and grow. And there's not much. There's a few schools, like I like Paul Mitchell's great. I still love Golden West. There's a handful of schools that are doing it right, but it's really hard. There's way more demand than there is good schools.
Yeah, I think it's hard too with traditional knowledge of skin. Is there's a very old school thought of like, hey, overload the skin barrier prescriptions. I mean, how many dermatologists still will start with Accutane for acne?
Oh yeah.
And I've worked with so many estheticians that offer so much knowledge and so many more like gentler routes for treatments, and it's almost like they know the skin better than a dermatologist would. And it's like, well, we had clients come in that would be like, I've been struggling with this for 4 years and haven't seen any improvement, and they work with an esthetician and within months see improvement.
We have it every day. It's they need someone to listen, and it's sometimes the food and taking time. Doctors will write a quick prescription and they're not listening. I had a client recently, and she just had this crazy rash on both sides, lower face. We were doing some stuff. It was kind of working. And then it hit me. She was with another esthetician. I came inside. I said, how long have you had your ears pierced? Because I noticed her ears were a little red. She goes, I did it like 2 months ago. And I said, how long has this been going on? She's like, about 6 weeks.
Wow.
And we took out the earrings, and she called the spa the next day, and the rash was almost gone. She was having a full allergic reaction to one of the metals, and she was on steroid creams. She was on like everything. She didn't know what to do. She came in for 2 facials and didn't, but I'm so glad she came back for that next one, because we're like, this isn't acne.
Yeah, there's got to be something more.
Like, so our bodies are communicating. So if something's going on with your skin, a lot of times it could be food. We just recently had a kid, really severe acne. He also drank a lot of soda. His father didn't want him to get facials. The mother snuck him in because the father thought it was feminine. And so, and our place is so more medi. It's not medi, but it's like a safe place for everybody. He did blue lights and we did extractions, but I told him, you have to cut out these sodas, because he was telling me you have to start. So we switched him to Olipop's because he liked.
I love that.
Yeah. So we got Olipop. He loved it, and so his father was so happy. He was telling everyone. He started drinking these sodas and his face cleared up. So he was like, "Gosh, I wish everyone knew it was the truth, but I can't tell anyone." But I told him, if you would have just done Olipop's, the acne wouldn't have cleared up, and if you would have just got facials, I couldn't have. This is like both things. So it's like, you have to eat healthy, you have to do the things at home, and then we can do our job. So if someone's going to get a facial and you're not going to use good skincare, like, don't get the facial.
You have
the
to.
Skincare is like, it's literally the nutrition. The facial is like the workout.
Well, and that's what I love about the Facial Lounge, is it's a holistic approach, and I think that's such an important factor, whether we're talking about wellness, skin. Like, you have to have a holistic approach to get efficient results.
Yeah.
And clients appreciate that. They want you to tell them what the recommendation is for all aspects. They don't want you to just do the treatment and then not give them an at-home regimen. They want to know, okay, how can I ensure these results? And then that in turn is beneficial for the business, because then you can sell products and that supports kind of a diversified revenue.
Yeah. And we curate our own skincare off of the needs. Like we see what we need. I've been making skincare a long time. I worked for a lot of different skincare companies over the years, and they weren't listening. So I was curating products. Like we were in one of the first like anti-aging, anti-acne products that are like calming and not drying. So many acne products are drying. But the thing is as an esthetician too, I know we get excited. Sometimes people think that is sales. So it's a very hard thing. When I know that Clear Days Ahead is going to clear you up, I can come off pushy, but it's because I know it's going to work. It has nothing to do with the $80 sale. Like it's like, so as an esthetician, we have to make sure to like educate and give the safe place for them to say no. But there's so many times people don't buy it. And I'm like,
you're like, I'll just give it to you.
Yeah. Oh,
I just
do.
want you.
No, I do. I'm in so much. I do so bad. Like there's a joke that we make more money when I'm not there. Like I just can't.
They're like, don't let her in the treatment room. She'll just give it all away.
Can't, because I know it works. So that's the place as an esthetician. We have to know, like, make sure to educate them, let them know that like what we're doing is working, but what you're doing at home is the most important. But once it becomes a sales thing, people are turned off. So it's an art to really care. And sometimes I tell people, if you want, you're okay, you can still use that. Eventually I'd love to add in antioxidants or whatever, but keeping it light.
So I would love to hear the good, the bad, the ugly. What if you had to choose one of your favorite stories about the industry or something that just makes you think of the industry? What would it be?
Something that comes to mind is my mother was a comedian, and she was actually called the anti-aging comedian. My mother was very funny. She said she was a 25-year-old trapped in a 50-year-old body.
Oh my gosh.
That was one of her sets. And I'm closer to 50 now. I lost my mother. And I think that finding the humor and everything is so fun. My mother used to say when she was younger, you could look, but don't touch. And as she got older, she'd say, you could touch, but don't look. Don't look. And I think finding the humor in our flaws is so good. My mother would say that she loved when she would find a brown spot, on top of her varicose vein. But she's like, don't worry. It was hidden in a wrinkle. No one's going to know.
No one will see it.
And now when I use self-tanner and I look like a cheetah because of all my brown spots, I laugh and I think of my mother. So embracing the aging process and knowing that it's part of the process and finding the humor and everything.
Well, yeah, that's the most human experience. I'm a diehard stand-up comedian fan, and I feel like being able to laugh at things is what makes us human, and it like brings us all together. So I love that. I think that's so beautiful that you're able to tie that, and you're so naturally funny. I can see your mom in you. You're just very hilarious and able to like make so many witty jokes. I think that's beautiful, and I'm sure your clients love it. You keep them entertained.
I do. I do find humor even in the worst situations. There's always sometimes I'll tell people it's not funny today, but I promise you it might be funny next week. Well, it's going to be funny next week. So.
I love that. To wrap up, if you had to define success, how would you describe it?
True success is being proud of what you're doing. I don't think it's a number or people put these things on it. If you are waking up and doing what you love and you're surviving and you're able to pay your bills and actually have freedom and do what you love, that is success to me. As a single mom, I'm able to get my kids go to basketball, and I don't have all these big fancy things, but I have a really good, healthy lifestyle for my children. And I was really important for me to be off by 3:00 to pick them up from school. And being an esthetician gave me that freedom. And I didn't know when I went to school 20 something years ago that's how it would be so important to me. So I think doing what you love and prioritizing what you love and being able to do it is success.
If our listeners want to learn more about you or find you, how would they do that?
So my company is The Facial Lounge. On Instagram, we're Facial Lounge. On Facebook, we're Facial Lounge. And our website is www.faciallounge.com.
I love that. Thank you so much for coming and sitting down with me today. It's been so much fun, and we can't wait to have you back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. You're an amazing host.
Thank you.
This is really fun.
It's been a blast.